celebratory poem called Cheers. And I say, here's to the peacemakers that aren't heard, to the revolutionaries that haven't said a word, to the wave of consciousness that washed the ignorance off of our feet, to the art of know-it-allism that couldn't contain all that knowledge, to those good old days of shouting from the rooftop the truth of who we were, even then, the same now, to rearranging the furniture of the mind, making room for the bed of something new. Here's to that silence that speaks louder than those who speak and say nothing, to the original idea of peace and the miracle of freedom, to the good that outweighed the bad when we were showing off, to that old-fashioned feeling of what they said love was, to finding out things for ourselves, to that amazing thought that turned on the light so we could see realization. Here's to that nothing at all mentality that turned to something, to those who believed in what was right. Even if they didn't protest, they still believed. Here's to the world and all the power that it holds, to existence, better yet, everyone knowing we're here. To the people who know who they are and what they have to do, this one's for you. Thank you.
Tell the Detective Reynolds didn't believe me. He didn't seem to like me too much, but I guess he was just doing his job. He'd been taking lots of notes, but stopped writing and, without lifting his head, looked at me over top of his glasses. "Really?" he asked. Then came a most difficult question. "Tell me, Mr. Adams," he said, "if you didn't intend to shoot Tweeter Johnson, how did he wind up with 2 .22 caliber bullets in his left butt cheek and 1 more in his right? They all came from your gun. 3 bullets seems a lot like intent to me." Well, I knowed he had a point there, so I pondered it real hard. In all my 83 years, I ain't never been in a position like this. I had to make sure I got all the facts right in my head before I said anything, mainly because I didn't want to get Bertie into no trouble. It was all my doing. What I really wanted to say was that anybody that fat and sloppy and with a name like Tweeter ought to be shot. But that wasn't the reason we shot him, not entirely anyway. So I rested my chin in my right hand and started thinking. The first thing I thought was that my beard stubble felt real scratchy and I must look a terrible sight. Bertie wouldn't like that.
Just yesterday, I said your prayers with you and kissed you before you hopped into the sack. Just yesterday, you called me at work and said, if you can catch this message, call right back. Just yesterday, after your homework, we sat and watched cartoons, and although I never admitted it, I enjoyed watching them too. I remember times when you got sick and nursing you back to health. I remember all the pride I felt because you knew Jesus for yourself. But today, it seems you left me, and although it's hard to deal, my comfort comes in knowing it was my Father's will. My tears will still be falling. My heart still has to mend. Yet my joy comes in the morning, for I will see you again. Just yesterday you were in my arms, but today you are in the loving arms of our Savior. I look forward to tomorrow when we will be united again. Until then, your loving mother.
God, she thought, I spent 10 minutes looking for a parking spot. Now I have to walk the length of a football field just to get to the stores, which doesn't make sense for even considering it when I'm fighting with myself about doing something I really don't want to do. And for what purpose, she wondered once again. Just so I can spend money that I really don't have to help the stores have a profitable month? She knew it was cynical of her to think that way, but as she'd gotten older, she'd begun to see just how commercialized it all had become. She banged her head as she muttered, "Stupid, stupid, stupid." Trish considered it stupid to be going shopping after Jerry Kavanaugh, her boyfriend of 3 years, decided to call it quits, which happened to be right after she'd been let go by her boss. To her, it was just 2 more reasons to hate Christmas.
I decided this was a good time to discuss jungle fever. So tell me, according to your internet profile, you date black women exclusively. Why? I've always dated black women. He chugs some water down. I'm not attracted to white women at all. I like black women like you, who speak good English, you know? The ones who sound white, not like they're from the projects. There was an underlying compliment in there somewhere, I suppose, along with a backhanded insult. I guess I fit his criterion. I was reminded of grade school, still in Oreo, after all these years. The kids used to tease me.
God in Wingtip Shoes, Chapter 1. God's Point, 1996. If you can't get with this, then keep your money in your pocket and go to hell, he said. He worked the congregation like a poised stripper at the Players Club. A slight remorse tried his stance, but he fought it. Life and death angled on his shoulders. He let silence notarize his conviction. The congregation hushed when the threat of hell thundered from the pulpit. Earlier, the offering baskets had swept through a third time and fingers had grown weary. Reverend Daniel Harris was on his perch, surrendered to the hymn, "On Christ, the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand." When he eyeballed the laziness of his faithful followers, that's when he flew to his crystal podium and dangled a little damnation in front of their deliverance. And so he allowed his scorn to blanket the congregation. Then he smiled.